the question of fresh start and leaving stuff behind. A lot of players I see are very opposed to the idea of, I don't want to lose my stuff. Like, that would be just outrageous, unacceptable. Like, how can I play for this long and grind all this stuff? And especially the Eververse stuff which you pay for, and leave that stuff behind. Like, I will absolutely be furious if Destiny 3 doesn't carry over things from Destiny 2. But then there's also, of course, other people who want a completely fresh start. I personally would definitely be on the side of, I'm happy with a fresh start. In fact, I think it's good. As much as obviously we like our stuff, we've grinded for it for a while. Everyone likes their collectibles, but I personally, I think people really underestimate how just good a fresh start is. And just when everything's new, nobody has anything. Nobody has any just like perfect roles, and nobody has just these like just things that you've grown attached to. When everyone's on the same playing field, I think that's what makes it fun, just having nothing and restarting. It's like when you have maybe your favorite game and you just like start over again. Like when you complete it and you've got everything,
yes,
you kind of just get a bit bored. And it's like, yeah, I've just got maxed out money and maxed out just weapons and upgrades, and I'm just like God mode and I can just destroy everything. Like it's not that fun.
Part of the fun
is just beginning and grinding and having blues and being excited to get a purple like that. So where do you stand on the starting fresh?
I think it's kind of two conversations. So when it comes to loot and things, I absolutely agree with you, because I think that part of the fun of a looter is progression in some sense, be that progression of your gear and the value of that gear, or your own skill, as you would have it be in the case of Monster Hunter. I would say that when it comes to cosmetics and things that have been purchased through Eververse, there is an argument to be made there.
That,
and you can't carry everything over. I think that's something that just needs to be acknowledged from the start, right? Like, there are ornaments for exotics that may not even appear in Destiny 3. Who the hell is going to remember... You know, who's going to remember the Eye of Another World exotic ornament that you got from playing Faction Rally Destiny 2 Year 1 7 years ago, and are you really going to be mad if that exotic ornament is not there? Now, granted, you had to play for that, you didn't pay for it, so slightly different conversation.
Well, you could have got it for free from a Bright Engram.
Yeah, like, so am I really going to sit there and be on the side of someone who expects that the ornament that they got for spare rations, which may not even return into Destiny 3, that gives it the weird, like, Gambit white glow effect, is really going to come back? Like, I don't think that's realistic. But there are things where I think it should be taken into account. So, especially considering they have no gameplay functionality, a lot of cosmetic things I think should be given at least a chance to be pulled across into the new engine. And that's very much me simplifying it in so many terms by saying pulling it across into whatever.
Just copy and just drag and drop, you know?
Yeah, you know, just like ship type 1 dot Destiny 2 PFP into ship type 1 Destiny 3 PFP.
Backspace 2
right?
and just
like,
type 3 and hit enter. That's how it goes, I'm pretty sure.
Right? That's totally how it goes. But, like, you know, I think that there's a very strong foundational line and a very secure point of saying things like emotes, things like emblems, things like, I mean, now we're paying for shaders. I don't know if they'll rebuild the system for it, but maybe shaders. Definitely things like ships, potentially things like sparrows. These things that, yes, technically they do have a setting in the gameplay if you're looking at a sparrow, but otherwise it's just your additions to the game that have added some flavor to it as far as everything to do with social interaction are concerned. I think those must stay. And, you know, that will be disappointing to see, but also... it will be disappointing to see if those are removed and you just have to start afresh on that side of things. But also, I'm not a game dev. I don't know how feasible it is. That, you know, we love the meme of just port by going copy-paste and, you know, do it as .ps4 instead of .pc or whatever. But, like... You know, it may not work, right?
Yeah.
Like, the reason why, a little insight here as well, because this was something that I believe Bungie spoke about on one of their blogs long ago. The reason why it's not easy to take Destiny 1 content into Destiny 2 directly is because all the systems internally that prop up D2 are different from the ones that prop up D1. The way that shaders, lighting, the actual world construction, all of this could be different. So it's not like the data is applicable one-to-one. You have a model of what you can work off of, and you can absolutely see about rebuilding old assets, but it is actually work to recreate this stuff. So I don't know how feasible it is. If Bungie are really looking at future-proofing this, they might build a system by which old assets from an old game could be ported in, but I don't know if that's feasible either, because that's just me talking about the idea. I don't know if that can exist because I'm not a game dev. It would be nice if it did. It would make a lot of content much easier to access, but I don't know. The one thing I do think about this other topic as well is that it's also partly about the state of Destiny 2 now. I'd want to sit there and see them restore the full content vault. Like, I don't care. Destiny 2 is going to be on my machine forever as long as I'm creating content around this stuff. So, as long as it's there, restore everything to what it was. Like, give us back the Red War, give us back the ability to play Forsaken's campaign, give us back the Tangled Shore and Io. Like, return all these places. Yeah, like, give us the full gambit of everything we've ever had across all the things, right? And the reason I'm saying that is not just, you know, obviously it would be nice to get all this content back. Like, absolutely, it would be good. But I'm also saying it from the sake of preserving the game and preserving what people paid for. Because one of the big things that really upset people with sunsetting is that you are physically losing content that you paid for, right? You paid for the Red War campaign and now you can no longer play it. That, as a base principle, feels really bad. It feels kind of crap, to put it really...
Quite anti-consumer.
To put it a little mildly. It's a very anti-consumer practice. Restore what people originally paid for, let them come back to it whenever they want, and keep Destiny 2 in a decent condition like they've done with D1. That's what I would expect Bungie to do. When it comes to the rest of it, I mean... At that point, I'd sit there and say, like, yeah, it would be good to be able to move on to a fresh start of D3. The thing that absolutely... Yeah, the thing that breaks my heart is the idea that we'll probably never be able to go back to things the way they were, you know?
In what way?
Because there is a lot of stuff that's been lost, right? Like, yes, technically all of this stuff is in the Destiny content vault and it is all saved up and there is a bunch of stuff, but there are things that we will probably never get to play again, you know? Seasonal activity-wise, I find it hard to believe that they would add back in things like Vex Offensive, which in itself, I mean, you know, it's not the biggest loss, but it's just emblematic of things. Do you ever think we're going to get Menagerie back? Do you think we're ever going to get some of the great seasonal activities that actually people really enjoyed?
No, there's been so many, like Sundial.
Yeah, Battlegrounds stuck around, but... The, you know, the Season of the Splicer stuff absolutely didn't.
Yeah.
But that was phenomenal. Like, you had the ability to jump into the Vex network, and it was an aesthetic like no one had ever seen. Like, you know, sure, you can play that in PvP map now, but it's not the same. Like, you were literally splicing into that, and it was... The last variant of it had you defending the last city. There are old raids that still haven't been brought back, like Scourge of the Past, which... has some of the most unique encounters that I've seen in Destiny raids because, you know, you're sitting there and you're fighting your first ever brig, your first ever Commodore. Like, it was a giant mecha for the first time in Destiny, and we'd never seen stuff like this. Like, yeah, I really do want to sit there, and if there is time left on D2, I want to see them use it to restore as much of the original game as they can, because... Yeah, I think there is a value proposition there that also goes quite unsaid, which sort of aligns also with the idea of why sunsetting was bad. And this is the last thing. Let's never do sunsetting again. You know, like, it was a travesty of an idea previously. Other games have had bloat. This is very true. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on where you will be able to come back to it after years, and maybe it doesn't work for the way the systems are now, and you can just breeze through it. But there are memories built for people in there, and part of the reason why people were so happy to see Whisper back was just the fact that they enjoyed the mission. You know?
Yeah.
Who hasn't dropped down into Whisper and heard the first pang of the music go off and just been completely transfixed? There's no gameplay meta shift that's going to change that for me. I'm always going to appreciate it, you know?
Yeah, sunsetting was just a very rudimentary way of fixing a problem which kind of shouldn't have existed, but yeah, anyway, I think everyone's on the same page about that, and especially when it comes to vaulting as well.